session that we have is a panel discussion. The name of the panel discussion is the same as the webinar, Digitizing Modern Claims Experience. And we have two new panelists, two new attendees of this panel discussion. Viktorija Katiliene, she's the head of claims department Baltics at Gjensidige Lietuva. And then we also have Tamas Tallarom. He's the director and head of claims handling at Kobe Insurance. Hello, Viktorija. Hello, Tamas. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for connecting. So, as I mentioned, Shinji touched on a lot of interesting points, and I wanted to also address those. But first of all, let's just set the scene with this panel discussion and just share your. I'm curious about your experience and your view on how has motor claims and insurance in general evolved over the past few years, and what role has digital technology played in this evolution? And please feel free to share some specific examples from your work experience and more, maybe even personal experience. So let's start. I have here Viktorija. Viktorija, let's start with you.
Well, I would say that technology played quite a major role in engaging customers into this claim handling process. Because if previously it was a very isolated process that could be performed only, let's say, by professionals, and the customer remained quite passive in it, probably the only task was to present damaged vehicle for insurance company for this loss survey, loss inspection, and afterwards all the process stayed in insurance company employees' hands. Then nowadays we have completely different situation, and those technologies allows, first of all, very convenient ways of loss notification, because technologies gives, let's say, access for customer also to not only to notify the claim, but to share, let's say, concerns, to ask for help if needed, and at some extent even to settle the claim himself or herself, because there are currently technologies that allows customer to make pictures correctly. Afterwards, it might this loss severity estimation happen, and customer might be proposed either to have this loss indemnification by paying out the indemnity, or might get an advice in which auto repair workshop is the best to repair the vehicle. And again, then as Shinji mentioned, it's quite a lot of possibilities to have meaningful communication, meaningful iterations with customer, actually helping him or her to solve the problem that they have, not just pay out insurance indemnity.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Tamas, what is your view on this?
So, in my opinion, that, for example, just 20 years ago, we were really behind the bank sector. And I think nowadays, mainly, I mean the last 1 to 3 years, when the AI technology just really jumped to our life, now we are getting to be on the same level with the bank sector. Just let's imagine that 25 years ago, with my bank, I used the mobile application. The insurance sector, there were no mobile application 20 years ago. But now I realized that we started to use or started to think on the AI technology with the bank sector. So I think the newest technology provided a really big advantage to the insurance sector to have a technology jump. So now we also can be at the cutting edge level, not just the banks. I think the classical digitalization really can improve the customer trust, because the data available immediately the data available in a perfect way, in an exact way, with no faults. For example, just let's imagine 20 years ago, when a claim file was in a paper form, and the client phoned to the insurance insurer, just asking something about the claim file. The claim adjuster have to search the paper claim file format. Now, immediately every data available, it really can improve the trust. But not even the AI technology. As I see, the AI technology in general, in the people mind, AI technology bring a lot of discomfort, untrust feeling. So I think in the close future, if the AI technology will be our way of path, we really have to work on to improve the trust what the client have to put into the AI technology.
Thank you very much. And you touched on a very interesting topic of trust. But before I ask the next question, which also related to trust, Shinji, do you have anything to add also?
Yeah, just I would like to paraphrase what Viktorija and Tamas said on 2 points. So that is the convenience and the accuracy, right? So the convenience is actually extremely important. Today, customer even pay the convenience over quality. And for example, both of them mentioned about the mobile. So this brought extremely convenient. So first of all, you know where to get in touch, how to get in touch. And Viktorija also, talk about the accuracy. So the accuracy, so sending a photo or sending video, and used to be, it's just about image. It's not anymore the image. This is image that some of the AI can work, what kind of damage, what type of repair work. So even these images help to speed up a certain process. So I just wanted to paraphrase two of the items, basically the convenience and accuracy. That is probably one of the benefits that the recent tech brought to the process.
And so in terms of the convenience and accuracy, do you think that what was the role of no, let me ask you this, how it has improved the efficiency for both policyholders and insurance, and what was the impact on the customer satisfaction in terms of when you use the technology to kind of make it more convenient? And could you share maybe a few metrics that can be used to measure this customer satisfaction and the impact of the overall in digitalization? Shinji, maybe let's start with you.
Okay, so just about the customer satisfaction engagement front. Obviously, I'm an insurance company. I've been always working in the insurance company, so we don't always measure our customer in this way. So I just remain high level. But imagine this. So this whole mobile, it's never designed to do one way, right? So all of a sudden, in the past, the customer tried to get in touch in a very difficult way to the insurance company, and then basically they need to wait until one day, maybe a month later, that they receive the check, right? So now you can track where they are, what kind of process. So all of a sudden, the control is moving from the insurance company, or at least share the control between insurance company and the customer. And you can imagine, of course, this gives more satisfied feeling, because you kind of feel that I am controlling, or at least a part of the process, right? So maybe that's, but I'm sure the Viktorija and Tamas has a much better.
Viktorija, Tamas, do you have anything to add? What kind of metrics could be used to understand if the digitalization and the customer satisfaction is and the customers are satisfied? So
I can share that in our company we measuring net promoter score, and we measuring it on employee level. And what was new after acquiring automation in claims handling, we also started measuring it for algorithms that settle claims end to end. We gave some names for those algorithms, and then customers would provide not only let's say this net promoter evaluation from their side, but they also provide open comments, and from those comments it can be clearly seen that definitely they appreciate the speed that algorithm can provide in comparison with actual employee, but also customers from time to time they have some small hints what else would be improved on our side, and this is a very good material to work with.
If I can have one word regarding your question, it is focusing on the simplicity. So I think the digitalization really could help or can help us to make the process more simple, as was in the Shinji's roadmap, that there are a long process and it should be cut. And I think the biggest help on the efficiency is the digitalization could make us to make more simple the processes. If I can say one metrics or one measure number, if I just compare to our capacity now and 10 years before, so we could increase our capacity or efficiency on the other way more than 100%. So with the same group of people, we can manage double claim files, more than double amount of claim files. So I think this is the result of the meaning or the advantage of the digitalization. And of course, it is a question where can be the next jump or the AI, how can we improve more that number? I think it is the question of the future, but I'm sure that we have still work and still tasks to improve more the claim process, and of course, at the end of the day, make the clients happy.
And one more point probably worth to mention is that technology allows us to connect different industries. Speaking about motor claims, those would be auto repair workshops. So here again, not necessarily precise exact metrics, but this instant data exchange when we, for example, using business rules, approving estimation instantly, this very positively impacts the process on partner side as well. So definitely the benefits are not only on insurance company side, but on both sides.
And well, thank you all for this input. And I wanted to also just revert a little bit back to the trust, to the importance of trust. And Viktorija, you correctly mentioned the importance of partnerships also as well. So I guess my question would be, what role have technology and the digital tools and digitalization in general played in building trust with customers? And what is the role of industry partnerships in this process? So let's maybe start with Shinji.
This is a really very important question. So when we are talking about lots of transformation, especially type of transformation we are talking about, and this is a bit what I try to put, are we doing this for the customer or are we doing for us, right? So if you can imagine, all of the successful ones, usually they put the customer in the middle. So they have a clear goal to make sure that whatever we are doing is to reach out to the customer and engage, to increase the engagement. And so by design, they're built to increase their engagement, right? So that's why it is very important not to just simply cut the cost or speed up, but keep asking what the customer wants, because this is the only way to create the trust with the customer. And as I also said in the presentation, our industry is very low touch by design. In some clients, probably they only see us once when they renew, and then probably this happened last 10 years. So the times of claim is so important to capitalize the moment to ensure that we are here for them. And if we can do this, and the trust will come automatically, in my view.
Thank you. And Viktorija, Tamas, the same question for you.
I think that technology brought in a lot of transparency from customer perspective. Now customer is much more informed and engaged into the process and has significantly more control, I would say, compared to previous times. Actually, I personally believe that not in all cases insurance company should be visible while handling claim case. The process could be quite seamless from customer's perspective. The insurance company might be just part of the process, but the more short and the more smooth it is, the better is for the customer. So again, technology here allows to organize the process that way that it is not necessary for customer to contact insurance company directly. Let's say even some type of claim registration might happen instantly, speaking with auto repair workshop and agreeing on repair time and place. And insurance company just gets the data that is needed. This is just one of example. So this probably is the positive change that builds this trust, because customer actually feels the scare from insurance company, but not, let's say, is in this lower position when he needs to apply, then to wait, then to ask for something. Insurance becomes, let's say, just part of this natural life of the customer, if I may say so.
A few minutes before I touched a little bit the trust of the customers. So I think transparency, accuracy, simplicity. These are the pillars of the trust, and I think that can be imaginable without digitalization. The role of industry partnerships are very, very important. I think itself, an insurance company can provide a very wide service solutions. So I think we need external partners, industry partnerships. So I think suppliers very, very important, and it will be more important in the future. Together with our partnerships, with our suppliers, together we can work on to increase the trust in the customers. And if just simple, if you don't believe the digitalization or the new cutting-edge technology, so it is not a belief. I think there are no any other option because if you think the claim process is a really very complex process, so we can't manage the complex process without digitalization, and we don't we can't manage the claim ecosystem ecosystem means customer, industry, insurers, reinsurers, suppliers, partnerships, without the newest technology and with the most efficient process. So I think trust is increasing or should be increasing, and industry partnerships is getting more and more relevant, if it is still not enough relevant.
Sorry, just I would like to comment one more thing, if I may, Peter.
Please, yes.
Because really interesting. I love what Viktorija said about transparency, and technology is indeed creating transparency. But what is also so important is to create a choice for our customer. I have a very funny example that what I heard from my fellow people from the other companies. So nowadays, younger generation people are extremely aware of this environmental. So they really go for electric vehicle. And for this, they spend a lot of money and for the insurance because of their honestly believe in the eco, right? But when it comes to the repairment of this electric vehicle, so you have a choice of having the secondary parts, which is by essence is more eco-friendly because obviously reduce the producing, but somehow the same customer doesn't go for the secondary parts, but they go for new parts. But what is here important is to give a choice for the customer so that it's always up to them to choose. And then they have like what I also mentioned before, let them to control. And this is also a way of increasing the trust. So we don't just assume that what they want, even though, yes, I understand you are a very eco person, but we don't just take it for granted. Right? So just this was because a very interesting story I had recently. So.
No, thank you, Shinji, and I think you touched on a very important topic that the new generation, the more tech-savvy generation, I would say, is coming into workplaces, into more of into the age where they can be kind of using different, products and start working in the different industries. So I want to also dive deep into this topic a little bit. So how does a company, insurance company, can create a balance between addressing the clients that are more tech savvy, more tech educated, I would say, and the less educated one. So how would you keep a balance of this and address their different expectations and behaviors as a result? So anyone, Shinji?
Maybe I can go first. So I love what Tamas also said. Basically, in his company, he doubled the productivity, right? So he used to deal with the X number of the claims, but now they are doubling, but by doing this with the same person. So this was a kind of a first kind of a step. But the second step, now, how can we really leverage the tech? So, because it's much harder, and then you remember, it's not about productivity, it's about the business success. Therefore, we need to have this young tech-savvy minded, and it is important, it's not tech-savvy or the older person with lots of experience. These both are very important. So we need to create the working environment that both opinions are equally heard. Imagine this. All the people has maybe even difficulty to navigate their mobile or new systems, and but they certainly has the knowledge. But the young person, they can translate this older experience, which is extremely beneficial to also the success of the company. So I see it is not basically it's not taken over by the tech-savvy young people, but I actually see, and it has to be, this is a key success, that there are more companies that are well balanced.
Thank you. And Viktorija, Tamas, any tips on how to keep the balanced approach in terms of the wide range of different education of your clients? So how would you approach this?
I believe increasing the awareness and education of customers might be helpful. Even those units of insurance company that have direct contact with a customer, either those might be salespeople or, for example, customer servicing department, those can also help quite significantly educating customers. And speaking about being or not being tech savvy, it's important to note also that in motor claims, frequency is relatively low if we compare, for example, with health insurance. And this means that not necessarily customer suffers a claim every year. And even being quite tech savvy, if the process is new for them, they are not aware how to, let's say, notify the claim or what to expect from the process, they might struggle a little bit. So therefore, all this process of how customer is being informed or even guided during this claim process should be very thoughtful. And then I believe it might be a success story. Another example is not necessarily in insurance industry, but in banking, this can be seen quite often when customers forcefully are being pushed to choose those digital options. And I can say that this impacts negatively customer satisfaction, definitely. So this evolution, this migration towards digital channels, digital solutions should be, I would say, gradual, with quite strong support from the business from insurance side.
So I think the technology generation and the old generation, so the difference of the two generations is getting closer and it is getting balanced, but it is still a problem what we have to struggle. Just an example. For example, we use a contact with the newest technology generation with video survey, and we use AI visual intelligence for the motor claim surveys. So these are really the newest solutions and technologies. And on the other hand, there are still relevant part of our portfolio, mainly the old people who send the claim notification by post in a paper form. So of course, all the two group of customers is still valuable for us, because the money what these customers pay to us is the same. So I think we have to focus on still on the two technology difference generation, but as I mentioned, it is still balanced. But in my opinion, so the future is for the technology, and of course the newest generation is getting to be at that stage, who can afford more, to have a house, to have vehicles, and so on and so on. So I think it is the future, but in my opinion, we have to still focus on the oldest generation. So I think why the two generation differences exist, we have to maintain the both processes. Thank you. You are muted, Petr.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah, perfect. So thank you for your views. I wanted to dive deep more into your the examples of what kind of technologies your companies in particular use, because I know that our viewers like the more specific examples, technologies, and opportunities and challenges that you face. So I guess my question to you would be in your companies, in your experience, what were the blind spots that the digital tools and technology managed to fill in? Is it to provide maybe a more personalized service? Is it to I don't know, improve company efficiency, for example? And can you maybe share also some obstacles and challenges that the company faced during the implementation of this technology? So let's start maybe with Shinji.
Once again, I mean, a little bit special position because we are the insurance company, but the company I visited, obviously they are doing lots of things. With some of them, so the kind of a better fit part is the all around the AI integration for what Viktorija also mentioned about the claims assessment through video. So they can do now instant. So they also know the make model immediately. They also know what kind of part could be replaced. They can also know already each step between from the coming to the garage and so on and so forth. So this type of technology is already available and working pretty well. And the other one, I think Tamas also mentioned about this industry network. It's about not on, ecosystem he mentioned. The claims, when you talk about the motor claims, it's not about the insurance companies, right? So lots of spare shops, repair shops, spare shops are also involved. So to bring those industry into this ecosystem is also important. So these are the kind of, it is working, I think, very well, even though the challenge is always the availability of data, whether this is the most effective way, I think, but this is a kind of the process of learning. And then accuracy goes over the time and probably quite drastically. But where I feel that it is not so much touching is actually the customer centricity part. So lots of effort, even though the back of their mind is always about the customer, because the quicker the process, better for the customer. This is really obvious. But are we really thinking about our customer? This is the part. Also, you have seen lots of not so well integrated is the chatbot. I mean, they're supposed to be extremely intelligent using AI, but most of these chatbots are politically useless, and it doesn't really create any better customer engagement. And probably one area that, in my view, they should do more and more is not only investing the bot type of the customer interaction, but the operators. And the skill is not anymore just listen and then write the claims, but they really need to support them. Don't forget, they are having claims. So some people are extremely upset. Maybe they're involved in some personal accidents. So these persons need to be much more attuned to their situation. And it's not anymore, times matter. No, actually the emotion of the customer matters. And there, actually, it's not the quicker the better, right? So this is, sorry, it's a little bit high level.
I have just one quick follow-up question, Shinji. While you mentioned about the chatbots, and you said that at this stage that they are right now, you think that that is just not viable to implement it, right? So what do you think that about other companies that they see that they implemented the technology, for example, and they see that it's not producing the results that it has? So do you think that they should still keep experimenting, or do you think that a company and the industry in general need to wait for the technology to catch up to this certain level that it gives enough of a productivity?
No, by definition, chatbot needs to learn. So implementing chatbot is a necessity. I think the important thing is make it extremely seamless, right? So I mean, the best case is the customer doesn't know whether they are talking with a robot or a real person, right? Because there are many questions that are so simple. Oh, tell me about the opening hours, or what is a telephone number, where is a repair shop? I mean, those are already solved, right? But then, I have a problem, I couldn't sleep, type of things. Then, real human needs to basically attend. So, but make it extremely seamless. So I'm really not saying that these efforts are nothing. Actually, this probably was a very important step. But the user experience, this is where I'm talking, and probably we all experience terrible user experience. And then, this is a moment you really have to think what the customers think about your company, right? And so then don't tell me that you are doing everything for me, right? You are probably reducing your cost, but not my priority. So that's the part that I wanted to stress.
Thank you very much, Viktorija. What is your view on what is your company's experience with technology, and what kind of technology does it use, and what kind of blind spots did you manage to fill in?
I would say that it helped to improve efficiency significantly, just as Tamas mentioned it. By times, also it elevated fraud management to a completely different level. I can see how partnerships with auto repair networks are being evolving. So this part is also important. What would be, let's say, maybe more challenging moments? I would see before leveraging technology, it would be important to understand the complexity business dealing with. For example, we are operating in 3 countries, and even slight differences in legal regulation might also impact how and what needs to be done when implementing those technologies. Then also it's important to, at some extent, collaboration with state institutions or regulators that participate in this process, because some of them more tend to adopt technologies and to create, let's say, on state level, some common ecosystems or share databases. In other states, this might not be the case. So again, it might create some different challenges. Business size also matters from such perspective, as Shinji mentioned in his presentation, that data is crucial, and let's say business size and might also impact how much data do you have and what is the quality of the data. So these things would be important before, let's say, starting doing that or developing more. And what I would suggest not to forget, again, those iterations, contacts with a customer, because usually when adopting technology, we are doing that for the majority of cases. We are trying to standardize as much as possible, because otherwise this automation has no sense. But then again, still some percentage of complex, let's say, not standard cases remain, and here customer might need actual this human approach, help from employee side. So here I would say that those communication skills, problem-solving attitude become more and more important for claim handler, not only those technical skills.
I think there are at least 2 or 3 blind spots where technology can help. I think the biggest blind spot was or is in the fraud detection. The manual fraud detection, what does it mean? The claim engineer manually try to filter the frauds, and on which basis, what is in his mind. with his experience, which is very important. And it is very, very difficult to make informal IT algorithm, but in their mind, AI and digitalization can help it. But telling you the truth, in my opinion, I haven't seen in Europe a really efficient fraud management software. Actually, we are working on a new one. I try to hope it will be more efficient, but I think fraud management is a still a really big challenge. But AI and technology can help on this area. The second one maybe is the claim survey. So AI can really help on the claim survey, because a few years ago, the crash engineer take a photo from the damaged car, and after a few days made the calculation. So at now, and it was still a time gap. The client and the insurance company had to wait for the claim engineer to sending the report or to getting the report. Now with the visual intelligence, the crash engineer take the photo, or the client take the photo, and immediately the indemnity can be calculated. It is a really big jump into speeding up the process, and I think it was a really big blind spot. Maybe the third one is process and automate the incoming emails. So for a long time, if there were an incoming email, the claim adjuster manually processed it and read it, processed it, and categorized it. So and we really couldn't speed up that process, because the person have to check manually that incoming emails. Now, for example, we are in the implementing phase. We try to make automation in this email process with AI, NLP, natural language process technology. So actually, I can't see any result, but just the difficulties of implementing it. The technology really need a lot of emails, a lot of data, a lot of time have to put into the learning process. So it is not an easy process. We have to put a lot of energy. We have to put a lot of money, cost, people, time. But I hope, or we hope, that at the end of the day, in the future, the put energy could provide a big result, efficiency improvement. So I think these are the main blind spots what can be solved by the technology.
Thank you. Yes, Tamas, and you touched on very interesting topics. I want to focus on one specific one, which is obviously there's a lot of ways that the technology and the digital tools can help a company, but one of which is, I guess, reducing costs. And I'm curious, how, in your opinion, how do you think the savings of the business can be passed on to policyholders? Is this it's just maybe a very kind of utopic question, I would say, but I'm curious, what do you think on how can companies pass on the savings of automating the business with technologies, pass it on to the policyholders? So any volunteers? Yeah, Shinji?
Okay, so again, as an insurance company, it's slightly different, but remember, the whole idea of technology implementation is not just about the cost, but to create more value. And over the last years, one of the problem of the whole motor insurance is because this is such commoditized product, and the emergence of emergence of this whole the price comparison side, the effort was made to make the motor insurance as complex as possible, so that basically they cannot compare. So this creates a kind of a gap, and then maybe this is also sometimes is it really flow, or just the consumer didn't understand what is really covered, right? So yes, we have to be very competitive because there is inherent the inefficiency in our industry. Hence, the cost should be reduced, and then this cost, of course, needs to go back to the customer. But is this really what the client are waiting for us? So this is a question we really need to address very seriously, right? So if you have a choice of the cheaper, but or more really, when we are talking about the more broader product. So again, we are even talking about the not just, you know, when something happens, I help you too. I'm helping your mobilities. Right? So I'm protecting. As soon as you bought our insurance, I'm basically here to protect all the way through from the prevention, also, but after the loss. So this also costs. That's what basically Tamas is saying. So the implementing technology is also very expensive, and if this is the only way to reduce the cost, then who is really benefiting? And that's the really the question. I'm sure that Tamas and Viktorija can answer this question much better, but this is a little bit from the insurance side, and then obviously I had a bit of interaction with all those clients that I used to deal with.
Yeah, thank you. Fair enough, Tamas.
In my country, in Hungary, the competition is really high, and I'm sure in every country in Europe, the competition level is the same. So I'm sure that the cost efficiency advantage have to appear in the prices on the premium, insurance premium. So I think most of the insurance company give or provide the cost efficiency result to the client, because there are no option because of the high competition. On the other hand, I think really difficult to measure the cost efficiency with the digitalization, because it is very easy to measure that how many people I have, how many people I had 10 years ago, and how many people I have 5 years later. But very difficult to calculate how many IT system or by how much money the IT system have to provide improve, how many new IT administrator have to apply, how many code programmer, IT specialist, IT engineers has to apply, how many other IT colleagues, IT supporters. So I think it is really difficult to measure it, because digitalization is just not cutting the number of people, but on the other hand, the IT costs really increasing. And I think we have, even it is really difficult to measure, it is we have to take it into consideration. So I think, in my opinion, the digitalization biggest advantage maybe not the decreasing the cost, mainly, as we touched the topic, increasing the capacity maybe, but accuracy, transparency, simplicity, maintaining the network, the claim ecosystem is maybe more important, or maybe can bring more result than the cost efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have one question from the audience, but it's also related to the question that I was about to move into. We are coming to the end of our conversation, so I wanted to kind of move into the part of looking into the future a little bit and seeing where the industry will go, and just you know, wrapping our head around a little bit about the emerging technology. So I guess the first question would be what do you see the role of customer service representatives evolving? Obviously, with the emergence of ChatGPT and all the other tools that are getting more popular between just regular people. I want to understand how would you address the issue of people losing jobs or maybe have to requalify, etc. So what do you see the role of this customer service related jobs in insurance evolving in the next 5 years, let's say? So Viktorija, let's maybe start with you.
As I shortly mentioned it, I believe that a little bit different setup of skills will become more important, and this problem-solving attitude and capability addressing the more complex problems, and to help customer than just answering very simple questions, because this definitely can be done by technology, or there are other ways how to inform customer about, let's say, those simple topics that he or she is raising. But then again, I would not be so afraid that this technology will take jobs from the people. I think it's natural evolvement of business, of technologies, and probably there were also some professions when I was a little kid that now has disappeared, but this is natural. And I think we all should not necessarily just simply adapt to technology, but just make it part of our life, not too afraid of it, and probably to look from a little bit different angle, what kind of possibilities it brings in for customers, for us, for, let's say, country, because insurance company operating in this ecosystem makes quite significant impact, not only directly on its employees, but also outside as well.
Thank you very much. Tamas?
I'm on the same opinion. So I think people will count in the still important in the customer service representative issue. So as I see now, the customers don't like the chatbots. Not just in the insurance sector, in the telecom sector, in the flight sector, in every sector, because the chatbots now, I think, haven't reached that quality where really can replace the human knowledge, the human communication. So I think still counts. The claim representatives has to be on our service ecosystem, and the customer representatives still have to be problem-solving attitude, with their communication. We got a lot of clients' feedback when they were really happy that they can communicate with a human being. So I think chatbots is good and will be better in the future. And for the simple questions, for the short asks, for the short tasks, maybe the chatbot and the automatic customer service solution can be important. But for the more complex problems, for the more complex issue and the claim issues in generally, there are the human being still important. And now I don't believe that we just can easily replace the human being. And and I'm sure it is not the aim. So we have to find the balance, as in every problems and in every issue, that we have to use the colleagues for the customer service, and of course we have to use the chatbots and the new technologies, but not for the same for the same problems. So it depends on the complexity of the problems, I think. So people still count.
Very positive. Thank you. I hope a lot of people are very happy about this. Shinji, please, your take on this.
So it's really interesting because you mentioned about the ChatGPT created by OpenAI. And if you know the history of OpenAI, as created as a non-profit organization to precisely address that these AI technologies for the human being, right? So as I agree both Viktorija and Tamas on the take, but what is very important is I had also a chance a couple of years ago to talk with the executive of Google. And at that time, Google really didn't like the word AI, which is artificial intelligence, because it sounded like they are intelligent. So there they were actually using augmented intelligence. So by definition, they augment human being, right? So, and the idea of OpenAI was always about being helpful for the human being. So with this, the idea of AI, we don't need to be worried that all the job will be replaced by the AI or machine or whatever. But we seriously need to think that every job will change. So the company who can navigate today to seriously give their thought about what type of skills are required, because I agree both of them that yes, the human being will still stay, but they will not do the same job. I can guarantee. So 5 years, very, very few people are doing exactly the same job, what they're doing today. So we definitely need to listen. And actually, Viktorija already mentioned in one of her comments, so the much more problem-solving skill, because we have a tendency to just do the task. No, we need to think. And when we're talking about the customer-facing, the empathy, right? So their job is to emphasize the people behind the curtain, and somehow the AI cannot synthesize, right? And that's what probably Tamas is saying. They don't want to probably talk about their real issue with the machine, but they wanted to have a human being, right? But then this person needs to have a very well skill, right? And so the idea of moving this to chatbot was probably a very bad idea to start with. And I don't know whether you remember, of course, I'm quite old. So there was a phase when this type of service was moved to, I don't know, India or somewhere. And I used to live in Switzerland. You call the customer service, and I mean, basically it's the Indian, they speak English. And okay, I speak English, but in Switzerland, basically people speak German, you know, so, okay. So that type of things, right? So this was clearly cost cutting. There's no empathy in, so they don't really try to solve my problem, right? So I think these type of this reskilling, upskilling, this is actually true opportunity, and we have to see it as this is a great opportunity. But in the future, I mean, 5 years, I think we have to coexist with the technology like AI.
Perfect. Thank you very much, dear panelists. So we approached the end of our panel discussion. I just want to ask you just a final statement, maybe 1-2 minutes from each of you, something that you took away from this discussion, or maybe your expectations of the industry, what technologies you're really looking forward. So just in 1 or 2 minutes, your final closing statement. Viktorija, please, let's start with you.
I actually made even a note for myself after listening to Shinji's presentation that lifetime of a customer could be also one of the metrics of his or her satisfaction. So this probably could be the most right approach to build the business around the customer and to follow this customer centricity path, because otherwise I believe it might be quite patchy, and even other adaptation of this technology might impact business not necessarily the way as we expect, because at the end of the day, majority of those businesses are servicing customer and should be, let's say, about his or her needs.
Thank you. Tamas, please, your closing statement.
So I think not investing into the digitalization and to the cutting edge technology is not an option. We have to go ahead in that path, in that way. AI and the newest technology will be more relevant in the close future. But I think people still counts, as I referred. So I think we have to use a dual approach, IT and technology management and people management. I think both remain very important. So I wouldn't advise anybody that not putting investment to the people management.
Thank you. And Shinji?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank my fellow panelists, Viktorija and Tamas. This is always for me very unique opportunity also to talk with the insurance company, because you can imagine the insurance companies built the success of insurance companies. And for my closing state is, even though we always talk about the customer centricity as a core of the movement, but we have so many problems. And sometimes probably the quickest way is to solve our problem first. And just always remind that this step is then it's just a step towards the next. And as you probably felt that I'm extremely passionate that this motor insurance needs to move from just a simple motor insurance where we just stepping after the claims to the true mobility protection. And I'm also hoping that the world is moving this way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That I think that was a very positive ending. So.